Yes, sir. Welcome. You know, when stories like this come out, you gotta wait for all of the facts. Anything that's involving race, anything that they want to put out on the media left and right, when you got people getting interviewed left and right, nothing was solved, everything was emotional, everybody wants to scream racism. It's just very important that you just sit back and wait for all of the facts to come out. Stop screaming racism, stop attacking institutions or people without knowing anything, without knowing the context. That seems like it took place once again at a BYU Duke volleyball game where this volleyball player from Duke says that she got called a racial slur throughout the whole game. Nobody heard it, nobody reported it, nobody recorded the perpetrator, nothing. They spoke about it after the game. I'm assuming that they took a L and now they want to talk about racism. You got people reacting emotionally, especially when it has to deal with a young black female. You have people reacting emotionally because they go on a Sean King's page. You got a coach in Dawn Staley who's going to cancel a home and home little game between South Carolina and BYU over the incident when there are no facts and there are no evidence of a racial slur being thrown at Rachel Richardson's direction. Somebody who's supposed to be leading the next generation is just showing them live and direct how to be woke. You got this website right here that reported on this story initially, right? And they didn't have any bias when they were reporting it. They reported the story, and now, a couple days later, they're talking about how there's no evidence of racial slurs. That's why you got to wait for the facts. You got people that are trying to use race for their own agenda. You got people, according to the stories, Rachel Richardson, she has a godmother or a aunt or a stepmother, something like that, that's running for office or running for a seat to become a judge, something like that. Now I guess what, she's trying to use her niece as some political pawn or something to talk about racism or talk about the fight against racism. But we're going to dive into this story because we're going to see who they're trying to attract to all of the woke movements, to everything that has to deal with race. It is going to be the liberal black woman of the future and of the present because they don't wait for facts. They don't search for facts. If it comes from somebody that's notable, somebody with some status, they're going to run with it. They're just going to run with what they see on social media, and then they're going to talk about racism, and then they're going to attack whoever the perpetrator in their eyes is going to be. Let's check it out.
The Duke women's volleyball team back on their home court today at Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Yeah, this all comes after one player says she was called racial slurs and even threatened during a recent away game. CBS 17's Dina Harley is live tonight for us at that game today. And Dina, a lot of support from the team.
Yeah, fans really eager today to cheer the team on. Players were even wearing warm-up shirts before the game that said, "Hate won't live here." A lot of fans really wanting to support the entire team today.
Really, the general thing we're trying to get across Duke and the Black Duke community is just support and making sure we show up for each other.
A lot of blue, a lot of cheering, and a lot of support for the Duke women's volleyball team on Friday at their first home game since sophomore player Rachel Richardson says she was called racial slurs and even threatened at a game in Utah last week while coaches and officials did nothing.
I was a little upset, honestly. I was upset with that school and our own, just because I and other people felt like the game should have been paused until the person or the perpetrators were removed from the area.
Brigham Young University.
So they got people like this that they want to ask questions, and it's clear as day that she didn't do any research into this story. It's clear as day that she is not aware that police have not found any evidence at all. She's just running with it off of face value on the surface level that you got another young sister that was involved in a quote-unquote racist attack and was threatened, but managed to play the whole game without saying anything to authority figures. Why would you do that? Why would you talk about it after the fact? It doesn't make any sense. And then now, days later, no evidence pops up. Nothing. No video footage. Nothing. In this day and age, you mean to tell me that people, when they're so trigger happy and pulling out their phone and recording just so they could put it on social media to be the first to talk about the story, you mean to tell me that they're just going to sit there and allow somebody to yell a racial slur? It just doesn't add up.
University has since banned one fan that was allegedly involved in that harassment, but police at the university have since said there is no evidence that person was involved in any racial harassment. Duke fans we spoke with say that has led people to discount what Richardson says happened.
I think if any of these, instances of trying to invalidate these stories kind of perpetuates a stigma here that these instances can be swept under the rug.
They say
instances are going to get swept under the rug when there's no validity to what you're basically claiming, to what you're accusing people of doing. People are going to get tired of people screaming racism, especially when it's plastered all over the media, trying to portray us all as victims. And that's not the case, man. When you're going to have instances like this, man, it's going to be the girl who cried racism, where people are going to basically disregard what you're saying because they're hearing racism left and right.
That it didn't happen will not stop them from showing support.
I guess I'm still going to believe the stories of the volleyball players.
And that's the major issue right there, bros. You got the liberal black woman that's just going to believe the woman just because she is a woman. Just because, why would she talk about racism? Why wouldn't she? Did Duke win that game? From all of the highlights, it shows that Duke was losing every single highlight point. But you got the future generation that's becoming liberal every day. So emotional with the public outrage, with trying to be all of these woke warriors on the internet, where they repost all of these videos from Sean King's page and whatever SJW warrior is on the internet, to where they just want to believe the player's side because they're the oppressed one, because they got called a slur, according to the rumors. You would think in this day and age you would have a recording, a video recording, a picture, something. But we have nothing. After investigation, but people still want to roll with the person who's claiming, even though there's nothing to back her up. When you're trying to say that you're waiting on BYU to step up, when BYU doesn't know about anything happening. And then you got the Duke side doesn't know about anything because, according to the sources, she told somebody that was close to her. But if it's something to talk about, to where you want to go on numerous interviews, to where your dad is on interviews with CNN and whomever, why wouldn't you stop the game? Why would you play throughout the whole game getting called something that's going to bother you, to where you're going to talk about it after the game, most likely after an L? Why wouldn't you shut down the game? Why wouldn't you tell an authority figure to get it handled with? So that's where people are going to brush it under the rug. People are not going to believe you. When LeBron James or Russell Westbrook is getting heckled by some fan, what do they do now? Even though it's weak, but they go ahead and get security and get that fan kicked out. It's weak, but at least they're taking care of it right then and there. They don't go through the game going through all of the heckling when they're losing and whatever. They don't wait for the game to end to talk about a fan that was heckling them or being disrespectful. They handle it right then and there.
Whatever they say, I'm going to have their back. We're going to have their back.
And there's no really cause for any student athlete here to lie, especially a black student athlete in this instance.
And you're a goofball for thinking like that. Why would anybody lie? Why would he make this up? You're a goofball to be thinking like that. Not calling you that, but you are a goofball if you believe that. If you want to think that people won't talk about race for their own good, for their own agenda, to make people think about them, to make people care about them, to become a victim. Because people are becoming high with all of the outrage, talking about racism any way, shape, or form that they could become a victim. They're going to use that tactic, man. So that's why you got to take a couple steps back and wait for all of the facts to come out. I'm not going to just believe you just because we might have the same skin complexion. No, sir.
We're always going to kind of stand with them.
Fans and students that we spoke with today say they're now working with the university to make sure all student concerns are handled immediately.
And I hope they work with the university and the classrooms and the teachers to learn how to do their own homework, do their due diligence into figuring out all of the facts on all of these stories instead of just rolling with the liberal media. But it is what it is. We'll see how this plays out. It's enough of that. I'm out.